Good morning, Dean Mello. Good morning, classmates. I am Nakilin D. Bago, currently working at the Quezon City Government under the City Accounting Department. Today, I will be presenting my report on governance and administrative reforms. In this discussion, I will explore key reforms that improve governance, focusing on transparency, accountability, and efficiency in public administration. Drawing from my experience in local government, I will highlight how these reforms are implemented and their impact on public service. So let's start with introduction to governance. Governance involves decision making, implementation, and accountability across government, civil society, and businesses. To understand governance, picture it as managing a large organization for the public good with three key aspects. First, decision making, like designing the four-piece program to aid low-income families by providing conditional cash assistance. Second is implementation, where agencies like DSWD distribute funds and coordinate with schools and health centers. And third, accountability, ensuring transparency and preventing corruption through monitoring by NGOs and government audits. The four-piece program exemplifies this, showing how policies are created, executed, and monitored to effectively serve citizens. So this process highlights the importance of collaboration between various sectors, from lawmakers to local communities, ensuring that public services are delivered efficiently and equitably. By emphasizing transparency and accountability, governance aims to build trust between the government and its citizens, fostering a more inclusive and responsive society. So modern governance has shifted from hierarchical models to participatory approaches, emphasizing collaboration and citizen engagement to address complex social issues. So why has governance shifted? In recent decades, governance has moved away from hierarchical top-down models and embraced participatory approaches. This shift comes from recognizing that traditional governance structures, which relies on centralized decision-making, struggle to address complex issues like poverty, inequality, and environmental sustainability. The shift towards participatory governance is driven by the shortcomings of hierarchical models, which are plagued by slow decision making, inflexibility, limited citizen engagement, and the risk of inefficiency and corruption. These issues hinder effective governance, especially during crisis, as clearly seen in the slow delivery of aid by the Philippine government after Typhoon Yolanda. To address the inefficiencies of the traditional hierarchical governance, modern governance now emphasizes collaboration, citizen participation, decentralization, and technology. These elements make decision making faster, more inclusive, and more responsive to society's needs. So there is a clear distinction between government and governance as they differ in scope, involvement, approach, focus, role of the state, and evolution. So let's examine these differences in the table. So by definition, government refers to the institution responsible for making and enforcing laws and policies. So it operates through formal structures like the executive, legislative, and judiciary, while the governance is the broader process of directing, controlling, and coordinating social affairs involving both governmental and non-governmental actors. So under the scope, government is confined to formal institutions that hold political power and authority. So while the scope Under the governance extends beyond government institutions, integrating market forces, civil society, and regulatory roles. So the involvement of government mainly consists of state actors such as elected officials, policymakers, and public servants. While the involvement of the governance, it involves multiple stakeholders, including businesses, NGOs, international organizations, and the public. So the approach of the government, traditional government follows a top-down centralized decision-making model where policies are made by leaders and implemented by the institutions. So while governance adopts a more participatory and decentralized approach, encouraging collaboration among different sectors. So the focus of the government it prioritizes lawmaking, administration, and law enforcement. Their goal is to maintain order and provide essential services, while the governance emphasizes transparency, accountability, efficiency, and the stakeholder participation, ensuring inclusive decision making. So the role of state of the government primarily acts as a direct provider of services and an enforcer of laws and regulations, while the governance shifts the state's role from a provider to a facilitator and regulator, enabling private and civil society sectors to contribute to development. So the evolution of the government from traditional and hierarchical structure with clear division of power, while the governance dynamic and evolving, shaped by globalization, privatization, and technological advancement, making governance more flexible and inclusive. So in other words, government is an institution while governance is a process. The government operates within a defined structure, whereas governance refers to how different entities interact to manage public affairs. So let's now proceed to the governance concept. So where did governance come from? So it started way back in the 14th century in France. And the word itself comes from a Greek word kibirnan, which means to steer a ship. So basically, it's about how we steer or guide our society. Simply put, governance is all about making decisions and actually doing what those decisions say. It's how we run things, both the job itself and how we do it. So how has governance changed? So back in 1972, a guy named Harlan Cleveland said we needed less government, more governance. So he meant we should move away from just government telling everyone what to do. So instead, we should have everyone working together. So it's gone from a boss at the top system to a team work system. So now we focus on everyone collaborating, agreeing on things, and sharing power. So what does governance look like today? Now, governance is not just about the government. It includes businesses, regular people, and groups like NGOs, so everyone plays a part. It's also flexible. It changes as our society changes, so it can deal with new problems and needs. And it's not just about government buildings. It's about how we all work together to make our economy and society work, even outside of traditional government. So the government, like lawmakers and judges, now works with all these other groups to make things better for everyone. Public administration has also grown and includes more people and processes than before. So governance is how we run society, and it's changed from a top-down system to a team effort involving everyone. So next we have the governance concept and international perspective. So governance is a broad concept. and various international organizations define it differently based on their focus areas. Understanding these perspectives helps us to recognize that governance is not just about government, it's about how power is exercised, decisions are made, and people are engaged in shaping their society. So first, we have the International Monetary Fund focuses on political structures and how power is exercised in managing resources. So International Monetary Fund. So imagine the IMF as a global bank that lends money to countries. So before lending, they don't just check a country's bank account. They also check how the country is being run. So they are concerned with things like what kind of government they have, is it fair and democratic, or controlled by a few? So they also look at how the government uses its power and money. So are they using it wisely or is there corruption? And finally, they want to know if the government can actually make good decisions and follow through with them. So basically, the IMF wants to make sure their loans will actually help a country get better and not just disappear due to bad management or corruption. So they look at governance as a key factor in making sure their money is used effectively. So next we have the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD, highlights legitimacy, accountability, policy competence, and human rights. So the OECD, which is like a club of countries that want to improve their economies, focus on four main things when they talk about good governance. So first, they want government to be seen as legitimate, meaning people trust and accept their authority. Second, they stress about accountability. So leaders are responsible for their actions. Third, they emphasize competence, ensuring governments can actually create good policies and deliver services well. Finally, they insist on respect for human rights and the rule of law, protecting everyone's freedom and ensuring fairness. When these things are in place, like when the Philippines implemented the Freedom of Information Executive Order to increase transparency, it builds trust and helps the economy grow. So third, we have the United Nations Development Program, or the UNDP. Defines governance as managing national affairs through economic, political, and administrative authority. So the UNDP looks at governance as something that affects everyone, everywhere, not just big government decisions. So they say it's about how decisions are made in all parts of society, from national leaders down to our local communities. So they emphasize that good governance needs four key things. So first, everyone should be able to participate. So things should be transparent, everyone should follow the law, and leaders should be held accountable. For example, the UNDP support programs where local communities in the Philippines get to plan and decide on projects in their own barangays. So basically, the UNDP wants everyone to be involved in shaping their country's future because good governance happens when everyone from top to bottom work together. So fourth, we have the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or the UNESCO. It views governance as a political process involving citizen participation for societal development. So UNESCO sees governance as more than just running things. So they see it as a political process where everyone should be involved in shaping society. So they believe it's not enough to just vote in elections. So they emphasize that citizens need to actively participate in making decisions to make sure policies are good for everyone. So for example, the Sangguniang Kabataan in the Philippines lets young people propose and run community projects, giving them a real voice. Basically, UNESCO wants governance to empower people, encouraging them to be part of the decision-making process so that policies truly reflect what societies need. So, good governance, what it means and why it matters. Good governance, as emphasized by the World Bank of 1992, relies on effective public service, an independent judiciary, accountability and transparency, and equity and justice to ensure a fair and well-functioning society. So first we have the effective public service. It ensures that essential services such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure are accessible to all citizens, while an independent judiciary upholds the rule of law, ensuring justice and accountability. Transparency and accountability prevent corruption and ensure that public officials act in the best interest of the people. Additionally, equity and justice ensure that marginalized groups receive fair opportunities and resources. So, a clear example of this principle in action is the Philippine Commission on Audit, or the COA, which plays a crucial role in promoting accountability and transparency by auditing government expenditures, ensuring that public funds are used properly, and preventing corruption. So, by integrating these principles, governance can be more responsive, efficient, and inclusive, ultimately by fostering public trust and sustainable development. Let's now proceed to the government application and new public management, or NPM. So, governance takes various forms depending on sector it is applied to. So, three key approaches include minimum state governance, corporate governance, and new public management, or the NPM. So, each of which influences how government, businesses, and public institution functions. So first we have the minimum state governance. So the government plays a regulatory role rather than a direct provider of services. So, think about the Philippines water and electricity services. So, years ago, the government directly managing these utilities. So, now they have shifted towards a minimum state approach. Instead of running everything, so they have allowed private companies to handle the day-to-day operations. So the companies like Manila Water or Meralco are now responsible for providing these services. So the government, through agencies like the Energy Regulatory Commission, or the ERC, and the Local Water Utilities Administration, or the LWA, focuses on setting the rules like pricing and service standards and making sure these companies follow them. The government's role in regulation and oversight becomes crucial to ensure public welfare is not compromised. Second, we have the corporate governance, or it focuses on business ethics, transparency, and accountability. So corporate governance is like having a set of rules of how companies are run. So it's about making sure that the people in charge, like the CEOs and board of directors, are doing their jobs ethically and responsibly. So think of it as making sure they're not just looking out for themselves, so but also for the people who own the company, like the shareholders and everyone else affected by the company, or the stakeholders. So like employees and customers. So they want to make sure the company is transparent, meaning everyone knows what's going on, and accountable, meaning they're responsible for their actions. So these rules, like being transparent and accountable, are also being used in government now. to make sure public officials are doing their jobs properly. So lastly, we have the new public management or the NPM. Introduce privatization, performance-based management, and market-driven governance, aiming for efficiency but criticized for reducing social equity. So imagine trying to run the government like a business. So that's basically what new public management or the NPM is about. So it's a way of running government services using business ideas to make them more efficient. So Quezon City's e-services like online business permits application or real estate tax payment are a good example of new public management principles. So the city government has adopted a business-like approach to improve service delivery and efficiency. For instance, instead of going to City Hall and waiting in long lines, residents can now process many transactions online. So this is similar to how private companies use digital platforms to streamline customer service. The city is also likely tracking performance metrics like processing times and user satisfaction to evaluate the effectiveness of these e-services, reflecting the NPM focus on performance-based evaluation. So there are two major models under the global perspective. So first, we have the social cybernetic governance and the self-organizing network governance. So I will discuss first the social cybernetic governance. So as described by Koyman, it emphasizes that governing is a collaborative effort where different groups like the government, businesses, and regular people work together to solve problems. So it moves away from the traditional idea of government as the sole decision maker. So instead of the government dictating, so they recognize the need for dialogue and cooperation with all stakeholders. So government policies therefore don't automatically guarantee results. So they rely on everyone's cooperation. For instance, if the government wants to improve healthcare, they can't simply pass a law and expect immediate change. So they must collaborate with hospitals, doctors, companies, and even charities to achieve the desired outcomes. So their rule shifts from a commanding authority to a coordinator, facilitating an ongoing process of dialogue, agreement, and adaptation. So next we have the self-organizing network governance. So it is all about teamwork. It moves away from the old idea of government being the boss of everything and instead focuses on how different groups work together. So think of it as a network like a spider web where the government, businesses, and regular people are all connected. So they cooperate horizontally, meaning they are on the same level instead of one being above the others. So this often lead to public-private partnerships or the PPPs, where the government and private companies work together on projects. For example, in the United Kingdom, they use PPPs for things like building roads or running hospitals. So instead of the government doing everything itself, they partner with companies and charities. This way, they can use the expertise and resources of different groups to get things done better and faster. So let's now proceed to the forms of government. So first is the political. Power is shifting from national governments to global organizations, businesses, and local governments. So basically, power is being shared more widely. First, there are big international groups like the European Union or the World Bank that influence what countries do. Then they are huge global companies that can move money and resources around the world, making them very powerful. So, and finally, local governments and cities are gaining more independence to make their own rules. This means that national governments are changing the rule. They're not just providing services anymore, so they're also setting rules and helping different groups work together. So, even though they still have some power, they increasingly rely on negotiating, partnering, and using their influence to get things done. So next we have the economic. Governments rely on markets, regulations, and network to manage economic activities. Historically, government often directly manage their economies, but now that's changing. They're moving away from being the main players to being more like referees. Instead of directing controlling market, governments now set the rules and guidelines for how businesses operate. This is because we have seen a rise in things like privatization, where private companies provide services like water or electricity, and deregulation, where the government removes some rules. So governments are now focusing on market, making sure there is a fair competition and protecting the interest of everyone involved, rather than directly providing services. So this has often made things more efficient, but it also raises concerns because companies are focused on making a profit. So they might not always prioritize helping everyone equally. So it's balancing act between efficiency and fairness. So third, we have the social governance. So citizens and civil society play a bigger role in decision making through participatory governance. So governance is not just about governments making decisions by themselves anymore. It's becoming more like a team effort where citizens and community groups are actively involved. Hyman and others pointed out that government can just tell people what to do. They need to work together with them. These mean things like co-production, where everyone helps create solutions, and co-regulation, where everyone helps set the rules. We're also seeing more public-private collaborations where governments team up with businesses and community groups. So you can see this happening in things like community projects where people in the neighborhood help plan and build things. And governments are using things like online surveys and town hall meetings to get feedback from citizens before making important decisions. So, in conclusion, governance and administrative reforms are fundamental to building an efficient, transparent, and accountable government. Although the Philippines has made progress through various reform initiatives, ongoing challenges such as corruption, inefficiency, and institutional weaknesses must be addressed. Moving forward, digital transformation, capacity development, and strengthened oversight will be key to achieving inclusive and sustainable governance. Thank you.